Chapter 5. Fault lines. The stairwell smelled of dust and old paint. Andrew and Jessica moved quickly, their footsteps echoing against concrete walls. Alarms pulsed above them. Emergency lights cast everything in red, a warning glow that made the building feel like it was breathing. How unstable is this? Andrew asked between breaths. Jessica didn't slow down. Internally, very externally. Worse. They burst through a side exit into a narrow service alley behind the detention facility. The city air hit them like a wave, cool, unfiltered, alive. Sirens wailed in overlapping layers. Helicopter blades thudded somewhere overhead. Smoke drifted from a distant intersection. Andrew looked toward the skyline. Several corporate towers remained dark. Others flickered irregularly, as if unsure whether to return to full illumination. "What's happening out there?" he asked. Jessica scanned the street before speaking. The leak triggered independent audits. International watchdog groups are demanding transparency. Markets are reacting hard. Andrew almost laughed. So instability is contagious. Jessica shot him a look. "This isn't a game, Andrew. If financial systems crash simultaneously across cities running similar infrastructure, they won't crash," he interrupted. "They'll adapt. You don't know that." "No," he admitted. "I don't." They moved down the alley toward the main avenue. Crowds filled the sidewalks, not rioting, watching. People stared at their phones, at live streams, at one another. Strangers spoke in low, urgent tones. A woman stood on the hood of a parked car, reading aloud from one of the leaked documents. Behavioral alignment metrics demonstrate increased compliance in sleep-suppressed districts. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Compliance. Andrew felt the words settle heavily in his chest. A man nearby shook his head. "They said smart infrastructure," he muttered. "They didn't say mind infrastructure." Jessica pulled Andrew slightly back into the shadows. "This is a fault line," she said quietly. He followed her gaze. Across the avenue, a large municipal building stood surrounded by barricades. Police formed a line, tense but unmoving. On the other side of the barricades, citizens held signs. "Let us sleep nitrate signal without consent. We are not data," Andrew swallowed. "This wasn't just about exhaustion," Jessica said. "It was about shaping thresholds, emotional, cognitive, behavioral, making people easier to predict, easier to govern." A sudden crack echoed through the street. Not a gunshot, a transformer blowing. Half the block plunged into darkness. Gasps rose from the crowd. For a split second, the only light came from phone screens and emergency strobes. And in that darkness, Andrew felt it again. The frequency. Stronger now. Localized. "They're boosting it in high-density zones," Jessica whispered. Trying to calm the crowds, Andrew scanned the people around him. A few blinked rapidly. One man swayed slightly, as if dizzy. "It's not strong enough yet," Andrew said. "Not yet." A ripple moved through the crowd, subtle at first, then visible. Confusion, irritation, restlessness. A woman pressed her fingers to her temples. "Do you feel that?" She asked no one in particular. Yes, they felt it. And this time, they noticed. That was the difference. A chant began somewhere near the barricades. "Turn it off." Others joined. "Turn it off. Turn it off." The police line shifted uneasily. Jessica grabbed Andrew's arm. "They'll escalate if this spreads. So will the truth." Her jaw tightened. "You're still thinking like a journalist, and you're still thinking like an engineer. Engineers understand cascade. Failures." Andrew turned to face her fully. "And journalists understand tipping points." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Andrew's phone vibrated. He stared at the screen. Unknown number. He answered. Andrew Clark. A familiar voice responded. Calm, measured. The man in the grey suit. "You're watching the fracture widen," he said. Andrew's eyes scanned the street. "Seems inevitable." Inevitable outcomes are rarely controlled outcomes. "What do you want?" A brief pause. A conversation. Jessica shook her head sharply. Andrew kept the phone to his ear. "You had your chance in the interrogation room, and you had limited information." The crowd's chanting grew louder. "Turn it off." The man continued. "The system you disrupted is not isolated to municipal authority." Andrew's pulse slowed, meaning it is integrated into international urban networks, energy grids, transport systems, defense protocols. Jessica's expression darkened. "He's trying to intimidate you," she whispered. Andrew held up a hand. "You're saying if this collapses here, it destabilizes far beyond this city," the man said evenly. A helicopter spotlight swept across the avenue. People shielded their eyes. "Then maybe it should collapse," Andrew replied. A faint exhale came through the line. You still misunderstand scale, and you still misunderstand people. The chanting intensified. Suddenly, dozens of phones lit up simultaneously with an emergency notification. "Com protocol engaged. Please remain still." The vibration in Andrew's skull spiked sharply. Around him, several people staggered, not asleep, not yet, but slowed. Jessica's breath caught, their increasing amplitude. A young man near them dropped to one knee, eyes unfocused. Anger surged through the crowd. "They're doing it again," someone shouted. The chant fractured into shouting, pushing, panic. The police line tensed. Andrew pressed the phone harder to his ear. "This is your stability." The man's voice remained steady. "Controlled sedation prevents riot escalation. You're proving our point in real time." Another transformer burst. More darkness. Sirens converged. Jessica leaned close. If they overdrive it, they risk neurological damage. Andrew's voice hardened. "Shut it down." Silence on the other end. "You don't have the authority to make that demand," the man replied. Andrew looked at the crowd, at the signs, at the faces now twisted between clarity and interference. "No," he said quietly. "But they do." As if in response, a rock arced through the air and shattered a municipal camera mounted above the barricade. The crowd roared. The frequency faltered for a fraction of a second, enough for people to feel the contrast, the difference between interference and freedom. The man in grey spoke again, softer now. "You've accelerated the timeline." "Good," Andrew replied. "A beat." "Be careful what you force into the open," the man said. Not all systems reveal themselves peacefully. The call ended. Jessica stared at Andrew. What did he mean by that? Andrew watched as more cameras were covered, disabled, spray-painted. "He means this wasn't the final layer." Above them, the helicopter spotlight swept again. But this time, the crowd did not look away.